Hi, my name is Amitabh Ghatak and I'm the Chief Product Officer at Molo Finance. Molo is actually an interesting concept. It is effectively a fully digital platform for getting an online mortgage. We try to give an online mortgage end-to-end in about 15 minutes. The way the traditional industries work is that it takes somewhere between 4 to 8 weeks end-to-end to actually get a mortgage. Not a single person I know who has a mortgage in the UK is thrilled about how they went about getting their mortgage. Everything we do at Molo, we don't ask what does Molo need, we ask what the customer needs. And having that customer-centric focus is central to our conversation of every single feature that we build and how we build it. It's very important that we bring the industry out of the 1970s and into the 21st century. Every existing industry, established industry, never sees disruption coming till it actually happens. That's the reality of this. And you only have to look to the taxi industry and the hotel industry and what Uber and Airbnb did for those industries. And the industries that are specifically vulnerable are the ones that are heavily regulated, that have a lot of intermediaries, a lot of people that you need to deal with to get the final end product. Initially thought we'd target the kind of digital generation, which is the 25 to 40 age group, and we see a lot of positive signs. What was surprising to us was how interested the older generation is in our proposition as well, the 70-year-olds and so on, wanting to get a mortgage from Molo, just primarily because the process is so simple. They might ask for some help and so on, but they want to do this. They want to be in control of their mortgage process, not be dictated by somebody at a bank or some broker and so on. So I think millennials get a bad reputation. I don't think that's the case. Like every single data point that we've researched or understood about our customers is the fact that the millennials are probably the most responsible generation in about 100 years. They spend more time with their family, more inclined to have reasonable romantic relationships, prefer doing digitally, are very cost conscious, and they're generally financially savvy. In terms of being unhappy, I don't think it's restricted to just the millennials. You'll always find some group of people that are unhappy about something. And it fundamentally comes down to kind of typical Pareto principles like 80-20 rule. If you can give a great experience to 80% of your customers, I think you've done a great job. Every company thinks about being a global organization. Every company thinks about having an international strategy. It's definitely our plan to be international. One of the things that we've kind of consciously made an effort to do is, really solve the problem in its entirety first in our home market, that's the UK. Understand every single nuance that is. The reality is that when you get into international strategy, and especially in highly regulated industries, every country has their own regulatory framework. And you have to go through it line by line to ensure that we comply with those regulations. And at the end of the day, this is not Uber, this is not Airbnb where we can flout the rules. This is people's hard-earned money. That said, developed countries have a much more, probably a comprehensive regulatory framework for the digital environment. Some developed countries, not so much, but we're helping have that conversation even in the UK. And some developing countries don't really have a lot of this framework in place. It really is, on a case-by-case basis what happens there. But traditionally in developing countries, because there's quite a lot of inefficiencies in how these processes are managed, especially government dictated and so on, it becomes a challenge, but also a huge opportunity to disrupt the market even more compared to a developed country. I come from India, so kind of peer-to-peer money transfers is a huge problem. And then one day one company came and said, hey, we'll do some work in this area, and within a year it was $1 billion unicorn. So all you need is a really important mass market customer problem and figure out a simple solution for it based on the existing frameworks. It's fairly cookie cutter. Solve a customer problem, don't try to create a market. Within that customer problem, find your niche, build your MVP, don't aim for perfection, but really try and solve that problem in the quickest way possible, and in the simplest way possible. Most of the times, it's solutions are over-engineered and over-thought through. That's something to avoid, and don't stress out too much about making the perfect product, because the day you go live, that's the day you start getting customer data, and that's when your decisions will be driven more by what the customer wants and what the data is suggesting, rather than what you think should be the real answer, whatever it is. And then just rinse and repeat and keep going at it.